Fire Emblem Engage is certainly a game. Is it a good game? Yes. So I kind of finished Engage like a couple of weeks ago on hard mode, and currently doing Manning playthrough, and I've been really enjoying it. Is it my favorite game of all time? Or, to better put it, is it my favorite Fire Emblem game? No, not by any means, but it means. But it's up there. I'm gonna get things out of the way, and I think this is like, probably one of the more predictable parts you're expecting, but my summarized verdict is great gameplay, meh story. I don't think anyone's going to be surprised by that assessment. I definitely think it's a much better, it's a lot funner to play than Three Houses. And don't get me wrong, I still think Three Houses is a load of fun. I'm actually doing like my Maddening playthrough on it right now, and I've been having a good enough time procrastinating chapter 5, but but there are some things about Three Houses that I didn't really like, because, like flyer dominance and whatnot, and then there's just like, they throw balance completely to the wayside, so like by the time you get to late game, it's just an absolute breeze. Engage isn't like that. It's very well designed, in my opinion. I like a lot of the changes they made, like the break mechanic especially. Like, going into it, when I first saw it, I thought this is gonna be like battalions and, or no, gambits and Three Houses, isn't it? Or like cause I thought it would be a lot more broken, but like, it's actually really balanced, like, surprisingly, and it's not overbearing in every game mechanic. I mean, it's not an overbearing game mechanic, but it's certainly like a mechanic that when you need it, it's really nice to have. I know everybody's saying this as well, but it's also really nice that the enemy also uses it against you. So it makes things really interesting. But because the only thing you're really losing is a counterattack, it's not super bad. And like, in any case, like, Engage is super player phase oriented anyway, so losing a counterattack on enemy phase isn't really the biggest deal ever. And, in certain cases could actually help, because, it's never any fun when you have one unit who's just a glass cannon mowing down the units coming at them, and then they die because they killed too many people. And they nerfed movement a ton in this game. Like, 4 move is pretty much the standard, and anything above that is, like, promoted, or flyers, or calves, which I actually don't really mind the lower movement too much, since the maps were designed with that in mind in the first place, and it also makes the maps, since the maps are a lot smaller now, I feel like it allows them to more tightly kind of design them, Like, sure, there were a few times where, like, I felt that I wasn't able to reach the places I wanted to, but for the most part, I don't mind. The maps are smaller and are allowed to be a lot more tightly designed because of it. Which, okay, a bit ironic coming from me, of all people, liking small maps, but, I don't think the low movement is really that big of a deal. If anything, I do think it helps overall with the design of the game. On top of skills, I think they kind of nerfed skills in this game. Like, for example, it's an absolute meme with how irrelevant some of the personal skills are in this game. Like, don't get me wrong, Some of them definitely have their uses, and some of them are quite good. Like Alir's is just basically Camilla's skill, which it's a great skill to have, especially if you just slap Canter on them, and then you know you can start moving these and chipping things down a lot easier. But I really I guess I don't want personal skills to be too overbearing. But at the same time, if your personal skill isn't really gonna do anything, then what's the point? Like, a personal skill should be something that defines a unit and differentiates that unit from other units. Because, sure, like, with the whole reclassing thing in this game, of course, it's not like Three Houses where it's basically a blank slate. So, you know, some units aren't really going to work in certain classes. You can't do anything like, I don't know, you can't make... Anna's not ever going to be a good axe armor or something. I actually haven't tried using her in axe armor, but I did try to use Anna on my first playthrough, not knowing that she was actually supposed to... Well, her best class was a mage, and I had nothing to show for it, but that's a different discussion. But if your personal skills are going to suck, why have them? Class skills too, like it's unlike with you know, Awakening Fate's Three Houses, like you can't just take skills from one class, like you can't reclass, get Death Blow, and then go back to your class. No, you can't do that. Which I actually don't think is the worst thing ever. I think it kind of helps with the game balance. But also, like, some of the class skills are just kind of meh. Like, the Sage skill, which is, what's it called? Tome Fair? I don't know. It's sorcery scares. I don't know. You increase your attack based on how many adjacent allies you have with a tome, which absolutely sucks. No other way around it. But of course, there are some good ones. Like, you know, I know Alchrist has a Luna. I know Diamant has Soul, even though that sucks, 'cause he has no dexterity. But like, you know, there's also things like the Mage Knight, which gives like 3 speed depending on how you're attacking, yada yada. But your main source of skills are going to be from your emblem rings, which I'll talk about those like a bit later. But the main problem with it is just the SP. The SP gain in this game is absolutely atrocious. Like, I tried to get, like, for example, I tried to get Canter on Louis, like, before chapter 10, and I just wasn't able, like, I had the Sigurd ring on him every single map since he joined. I used him excessively, and I just wasn't able to get Canter on him before time was up, and you know, the chapter that comes ruined all my plans on my blind playthrough. But I tried to get Canter and Louis on Maddening, and I was almost there, but I just wasn't really able to get it, and there was no way I was doing one of those skirmishes, 'cause I'm not putting myself through that. On another note, like, I haven't done any of the skirmishes, but I did try those Tempest trials. You know, the one, you know, that Tower of Trials thing. Like, I was super excited at first, but Tempest trials is just, it sucks. It's boring, there's nothing to do, gain is minimal, like, so, like, I checked, so, you know, it's your only source of those, like, little emblem gems, too, and, like, it wants you to have, like, I don't know, 25 of them to increase, like, your weapon's might by just 1 point, 1 single point. They want 25, and I suppose fair, like, I'm pretty sure you can do a Tempest Trials like as much as you want in the Somnia before you go to the next map, but it's just not worth it. Like, I really did try to play one of those Tempest maps. I even did finish those maps. I did finish one of them. I got absolutely nothing to show for it other than like crumbs of XP I just could have gone to the arena to get in a way that made me suffer less, and like 3 gyms contributing to the 25 I needed, and the upgrade wasn't even that good. So I guess it's a nice option to have for the people who just want to make their engaged weapons absolutely cracked, but for the most part it's so useless and so soul crushing that I never want to do a single one ever again. Yes, I did play heroes, but at least you can auto battle those. Well, okay, I know you can auto battle these ones too, but if you do that, the reward, like, if you want more rewards, you have to put it on a higher difficulty. And so it wasn't an option to do the auto battle there. And also, that's just more time spent away from the core gameplay, which is actually really, really good. Okay, so I think nerfing stave range was a really good idea. And no, not because, like, I really, really do like warp skipping chapters. Like, Thracia staff saved me so much time. Gaiden warp also saves so much time and makes you suffer less. But I like how it just forces me to play through a chapter, and I'm actually really grateful for that because, again, the main gameplay loop is it's Fire Emblem, so you can't ever go wrong with that, but Engage's gameplay is just so well designed. It's amazing. I love it. There's really not much more to say about it. I love it, but, they nerfed the staff, so, like, you can't cheese the game super duper hard, but they're still good enough that you can use it. Like, especially have the Micaiah ring on one of your units, and then, like, Micaiah ring is just insane. I don't know what they were thinking, but I'm so grateful to whoever designed that. They're still just useful enough to use. Like, one staff I wasn't expecting to be as useful as it was the obstruct staff. Like, even without the Micaiah ring, just allowing you to create the Great Wall of obstructs, it's still just a really nice tool to have. It saved my ass so many times. What I'm also going to say is, I really like what they did with the bosses. So, bosses kind of are like, they're kind of like monsters in 3 houses, where they can have multiple health bars. And I think that really actually helps them feel like, wow, a boss. Like, in previous FEs, like, I do think, there were some really, nice bosses, like, Digensia from Radiant Dawn. Not Ashera, I don't know. Digensia had better stats than Ashera, and, well, okay, we're not discussing other games. But, for the most part, bosses are just, like, they're just a random unit. Sometimes they'll have a face plaster to them, sometimes they don't. But Engage, like, because they have multiple health bars, you really have to plan and think how you're going to get rid of them. Because, like, so, kind of with the emblem rings, it makes it gives you a choice. Like, do I want to spend my emblem rings earlier, like, over here, so I can get through this spot easier? Or do I want to save it for the boss? That's a really nice choice to have, because you have to plan around how you're going to defeat bosses, because yes, you can defeat them in a single turn, but it just takes a lot of careful planning and thinking. Like, especially on Maddening right now, like on hard mode, which is what I played for my first playthrough completely blind. Um, like in hard mode, like I feel like maps went something a lot like this. Like, you play the map a bit, and then once you're kind of near the end or at the boss, you just kind of, use your emblem rings to kind of cheese it. And I know this isn't a maddening discussion, but, like, in maddening, it's not quite the case. Like, it is kind of the case. I was definitely able to cheese some of the bosses, but it's still kind of hard, but especially in maddening, bosses are just, you have to carefully navigate them. Like, one wrong move and they just jump onto somebody if you can't if you can't kill them in time. So yeah, I think bosses are a lot of fun in this game. In my personal opinion, I think a lot of people agree on that though. Like, I'm pretty sure at this point I'm just regurgitating a lot of the same things other people think, which, I mean, I guess that's not a terrible thing, but at the same time, I don't know. Maybe this just sounds like the 50th Engage video you have heard that was reproduced in the Engage review first impression, yada yada, please watch, please click video. Although, speaking of bosses, there kind of is a bit of a problem with the bosses. So, for as good as I think they were done in terms of gameplay, there's kind of these four, strapping people they call the Four Hounds, and you see them. You see Zephyr in one of the first chapters, and then all four of them attack you in chapter 11, and then eventually you get to Psalm, and then you get to fight them, and it feels kind of cool. And then a few chapters later, oh, hi there, Marnie and Mavier and whoever else. Oh, hi, Grizz. Hi, Zephyr. So many of the bosses are just the Four Hounds. Like, on the top of my head, there are only like 3 other unique bosses that are not the Four Hounds that have a portrait, because for the most part, if they're not the Four Hounds, they're some sort of faceless corrupted. And the ones I can name, other unique bosses I can name on top of my head is the general dude from chapter 4, the chapter 2 lady who I think also reappears in another later chapter under a different class. I'm not super sure though. Like, she's an Arbor Knight in the first chapter she appears in, and then the next chapter she's a warrior or something. And then there's that, oh, I'm super evil, but I'm the cowardly henchman, ha ha ha, laugh at me, dude from Firene, who was bothering Salient and Alfred's mom, and was scared when she looked at him, and I guess that's supposed to show us she's super fearsome or something. And then the gal from the Anna Paralog, and let's see, that's 1, 2, 3. That's 3 unique bosses that are not the Four Hounds in the entire game. Yeah, that's kind of a problem, isn't it? Because now, on my feelings about the Four Hounds, I'll talk about them as characters later, but you just fight them so much. And while, like, I'm always happy to fight, an engage boss because they're fun. The thing about them is that once you figure them out, you figured them out again. Like, once you figure them out, that's it. And the problem with them is that the maps you see them on don't do enough to change up their kind of formulas, Like, Marnie just sucks. Marnie just sucks, and then Mavier, and Mavier, Zephyr, and Gris are just, you lure them out, and then you kill them. That's it. And I know everybody likes to talk about Chapter 19, which I do think is a good chapter, but I think, like, by that point, it's not, like, Chapter 19, the reason why Chapter 19 is good is because you fight them all at once, but that doesn't happen ever again. And because of that, because there isn't that stress for, like, a lot of the other chapters I join with, having to defeat 4 bosses, it just really takes away from them. Like, okay, wait, no. Let me rephrase that. Let me rephrase some of the things. You see them a lot throughout the game, and you fight them a lot. And there is the one outlier that I would think would be Chapter 19, because Chapter 19 is unique in that you have the pressure from all these other bosses on you. But then for, like, the other chapters you see them, there's not really anything that really differentiates them in this appearance compared to other appearances, I guess. Which I think is a real shame too, because I think that if you fought the 4 hounds less, their fights would just feel a lot better to play, and also, be a lot more engaging. Haha, see what I did there? Because if you keep fighting them, you figure them out. And sure, in maddening, there's things like can't break them, can't use weapon effectiveness against them, but that's still not enough. So I think, as great as the bosses are, I think they really suffer from, the bosses just really suffer from a really, really terrible case of, I've been defeated, but I can't fall here. I must retreat. And I think that's pretty much all I've said about gameplay that I really wanted to. Maybe like in the future, I'll like make a lame tier list or something. I don't know, but yeah, that's everything I have to say about the gameplay. So I would like to talk about the story. What do I think about the story? It's very okay for what it is. It's not as bad as Fate's. That's not saying a lot. But it's basically Awakening's plot in a lot of places. And it's just a very simple story. And that's not the worst thing ever. Like, you can tell a good story even if it's simple. Like, all that matters is the execution. The problem with Engage in its narrative is that it's not necessarily unlogical in the outcomes that are there, because I do think that for the actions that are taken in the story, there is some course of logic that is kind of there to justify them. Do I think they're the best outcomes and results? No, absolutely not. Like, spoilers, of course. I probably should have had a disclaimer at the beginning, but I can just add that later. But like the whole thing with Alir in the late game, like they die and then they're resurrected as a corrupted and kind of die again, and now they're an emblem. That was just so stupid. It's just so. I think the whole plot point of, oh, hi, I'm Vale. I can create you, a powerful being with my own hands, but you know, I'm kind of weak too. Like, you're telling me this little dragon child and some like can create this, and you're telling like create this without taking the biggest like such a toll on her that she's not bedridden for weeks, especially with like Lumera. Like, you're telling me that Sombron makes a corrupted Lumera, like, a divine dragon who, you know, defeated him years ago, probably is kind of on par with him in power. You're telling me he created that, and he's not, like, nothing's taken out of him? Well, okay, I guess Lumera, like, was already giving her divine powers to Alir and stuff, but that's even more stupid, because I think, in that case, like, wouldn't Vale be dead from the utter power that would take? I mean, she would be getting her wish! But, okay, I mean, Engage was supposed to be a 30th anniversary you know, game. So I don't mind that the story is simple, but I think it's such a shame though, because I do genuinely think that there are interesting parts like to this world, and like that are just there right for the taking. Like, there's this one scene in like around the mid game where all of the emblems get together to, you know, talk, and I really like that scene. For example, like, I'm really disappointed in the utter lack of like emblem interaction we got to see in the main story, because like, other than Marth and to an extent Sigurd, like Marth and Sigurd have like the most story like presence. I mean, Marth, it's obvious, and you know, Sigurd, because I kind of do wonder if the developers had a FE4 bias. But anyways, like, for the most part, they're just, for as big as the role they play in the story, for literally being like the MacGuffins of it all, I don't think their presence, like, story-wise, is very great. Just because the way it goes is, oh, hi, I'm Emblem, blah, blah, blah. I would be happy to help you, Divine Dragon. Haha. And then they join you. And the only time they ever come back is for a big story moment, like, you know, in Chapter 10, where they all get taken away from you. And even then, they kind of hardly have any dialogue. I really do think they underutilized the emblems so much in the story. Like, I'm not asking for, like, the emblems to constantly be making choices and stuff. Like, I do think that would kind of be a little bit difficult to do with all of the, you know, the multiple, like, these multiple different characters that you have to, you know, analyze the characters of, and then put in a game with other different characters in an environment that's different from the one they're in, thus having to write them in a way that suits both this world, but also would suit their character from the other world. Like, I can understand why they didn't have them in the story as much. I just think it would be way better if they could, because, I mean, for example, there is Fire Emblem Heroes, I guess you could say, but the interaction in those are just so short that, yeah, and we all know how Faye's story is and stuff. I don't really know what's going on right now. I haven't touched it in a while. There just seems to be this sexy lady who seduces Kieran and then kills him, or something. But, the emblems are just so underutilized. It hurts. I suppose the bond conversations are nice, kind of. I'm not complaining. I think the bond conversations are fine, but bond conversations is like all you really have for these characters. And it's just such a terrible shame. Another thing I'm kind of disappointed about is Alear, which I suppose this is kind of predictable. Like I just think I don't like the avatars. Like I don't really like them. I think they kind of I don't mind self inserts or anything, or even the concept of an avatar, but the problem is because, you know, avatars are just written to be such a blank slate that they can't be anything more than just that. Like, there are certainly aspects that make, you know, a lyric character, like, they're more cowardly than everybody else. I appreciate that they actually kind of had something smart to say at the beginning of the game, which was just like, run away. I actually really liked that. But they're not expanded, it's not expanded enough upon, I feel like. Because they're not, I don't think they're they're meant to be a self-insert, yet from the way they are written, and at least in the main story, I haven't, like, you know, read too deeply into their support conversations, but the way they're written, it's like they don't want it to, it's a character, but they also want it to be such a blank slate for you to be able to project on. And I, like, maybe if it were something like Robin, which played like a smaller role in the story, well, ish, Robin is just there. Well, no, Robin is a big part of, like, you know, the late game story, but I don't know. It does not make for a very good main character. Like, I think if they want to, you know, continue on having an avatar, like, just like have them be some random Joe from a village or something. I do not think that avatars should be playing, like, such a big role in the story. I know they want, you know, for you to have that self-insert fantasy and whatnot. I don't think it makes for a very compelling narrative. And I do think it really takes away from the actual characters of these avatar characters. Like, I actually don't hate Alear. Like, if I had to make a little, ranking of the avatars in FE, let's see, I'd put, you know, number one, I think Avatar. I think Robin's my favorite. Here we go. Robin. Let's see. Robin, Alear, Byleth, Corrin. I feel like I'm forgetting one. No, I don't think I'm forgetting one. I know Chris and Mark are a thing, but Mark is like hardly there. He's only there for the tactician stars. And as for Chris, I have not yet played New Mystery yet. I hear he's really, really bad though, but so that would be my rankings if I had to make one, because I do think Alear, like, what's there I like, but because of their nature as an avatar, they're not allowed to be anything more, which I just think it's such a shame. I really do. What also irks me is the literal avatar worship. Now, I kind of want to just, no, I kind of, well, at least I do hope that this game is self-aware, and so it's trying to make fun of it. But if this game is self-aware, then they're doing a really bad job, because the avatar worship is still there. Like, in context, in universe, it makes total sense. Okay? It makes sense. That doesn't mean I have to like it. And for as much sense as, you know, oh my god, you're the divine dragon makes in the story, it's not, they don't even do that well. It's just like, oh, you're the divine dragon. Oh my god. Now, I don't think the avatar worship's actually super bad. It's not Corrin level. It's only really like Fram clan that are really, really bad. Mostly Fram with the whole shiny sweat. Funny support, but still creepy. But it's avatar worship. It's definitely, I don't think it's as bad in this game as it is in something like Fates. That's not a high bar to reach though. But it's still just so and look, I have a high tolerance for cringe, but even this game made me cringe sometimes too. Like freaking Alchrist. Like Alchrist introduction, he looked like a badass. Okay, and then he just launches up in the air, and he just is like bowing down to you, and it's so overplayed. And this game, I would like to think it's self-aware, but if it wants to be self-aware, then it should lean more into that, I think. Because, in my opinion, it doesn't lean far enough into it if it wants to be self-aware. Alright, wait, I actually do have one more thing I want to say about them. If the only reason your villains are in any way interesting because one of your fans who might be, might use their mentally deranged minds to forge an image of those villains that is actually more interesting, then you might have done something a little wrong in your execution. Just saying. Now, I think this is a nice place to put a forced segue to the other part about this. The characters. What do I think about the characters? Meh. They're fine. I think I do have characters that I do kind of like Amber because he looks like Kaveh. That was the only reason I used him in my playthrough, actually. But okay, now we're not to be serious for a bit. I think they are what people think Fates and Awakening characters are. Like that's what engaged characters are. And no, I have not delved into a lot of supports yet, so there are aspects I think I'm missing, but I think that's a terrible shame because there are aspects about these characters that make them interesting. Like, for example, Alfred, like, a lot of his support chains, from what I can tell, are just, ha ha ha, I like training, I like muscle man, give me muscle. And then you get to Saline Alfred, a support, and then it pretty much recontextualizes everything about his other supports. And that's just one case of it, but I sincerely doubt that that it's the same case with other characters where they're actually fleshed out, having a reason. Like going back to Amber, I've read a decent chunk of his support, and he has one trait which is I want to be a legend, and I'm an alpaca farmer, and then that's it. No explanation. Like, let me think about something we can do to make Amber more interesting off the top of my head. I want to be a legend because I don't want to die in obscurity and be forgotten about. There, I've just made Amber a much more interesting character. That's the thing with a lot of these characters. They have like a few quirks about them, and then that's all we get. That's all we get to see about them. And they don't try to make these characters any more interesting, even when something is like, hanging right in front of them. Like, why does Etienne want to be strong and muscly, for example? I'm not saying you can't have comedic relief. I'm not saying we can't have a much more lighthearted FE, because that is what Engage is. Like, I think Engage is trying to be more of a goofy, lighthearted Fire Emblem, and that is fine. Still kind of makes the whole, oh, this is terrible. Look at this burnt, poor town. A little off-putting, but, I mean, I guess it's Fire Emblem, it's war. It would feel even worse if there was an acknowledgement of that. But at the same time, that doesn't mean you can't create interesting characters in that. Like, there is one case, and her name is Yunaka. And I think her character is actually pretty cool. You know, high up papaya, silly, kind of talks like how I do sometimes. And you know, former assassin and whatnot. But I want to so I guess spoiler supports. But there's this one support with her and Citrine, and it's it has a really, really good hook, in my opinion. I like that C support, okay? But then, the rest of the support is just Yunaka expositing her backstory. It is literally just like, Citrine is like, okay, Yunaka, tell me about your history. And then she's like, blah, 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 blah. Here's my sad history. and that is like one of the more interesting supports in the game, and that's all it is. And sure, at the very end of the A support, Yunaka is like, yeah, I was actually researching because I wanted to set up like a fund for kids, for orphans, so they don't have to go through the shit I did. But there's that support. It had something there. It had good potential. The problem is that one thing that had the potential, which was, you know, Yunaka and her backstory, are all that are used. Like, you get a few lines from Citrine about her ruthlessness, and then what else? And I haven't seen any other Citrine supports, so maybe she acts more like that in other supports. Where she's like, I will kill and maim for Brody if I have to, without an ounce of regret. So, okay, I know I'm gonna stop here before I keep on going for too long, because I know I will, about the support. But I think there are a lot of supports like this one where if it is not just, you know, two characters with two different quirks clashing against each other with haha funny shenanigans, it's something like this. It's kind of disappointing, because these characters, a lot of these characters, they have something underneath them. It's this little hook of interest. And then when you find, you're the fish, you grab onto that bait, you're reeled up. What is there to show? And also about the characters, I would like to talk about the designs. So, the designs are certainly something. They're not. It's probably because I have had to stare at them for so long that I have grown numb to them and have thus grown a tolerance for them. Because yes, I have certainly grown a tolerance for them. So I would like to say something specifically. Like, I like the art style of this game. Like, I think all of the emblems look pretty good except for Edelgard. But like, I've been staring at a lot of, like, the emblems. I never thought I'd be staring at Sigurd's eyelashes for so long. Okay. I'm not horny, I swear, okay? But the art style, it's good. But the designs themselves I think their main problem is, so there's just always something a bit extra, something that I feel like doesn't need to be there. Like, for example, there's Ivy, and like, I like her design for the most part, but then like, why does she have these like random horns, like random thorns on her, you know, her little brochet, her gloves, and her boots? Why are they there? Like, they don't need to be there, and then I'm busy staring at these thorns wondering why the hell they thought this was a good idea. And it's the same story for a lot of characters. Like, there are just things about their designs that, if like little nitpicks, that like if they were just changed a bit, I would like their designs a whole lot more. Like, I remember really vividly, my sister was watching, and I was playing through like the first map where you're fighting Lumera, and like I'm like, yo, oh, her design's not actually as bad as I thought it would be, because you know, I'd seen some of the other designs, like I saw Tamara's, because she's, you know, on the box art and trailers, and I was baffled why she had so many balloons, and also, you know, Colgate-chan, yada yada. But then, like, I look lower, like, I see her full design, I see her full model, I see more than, like, just her, like, torso, and then I'm left baffled, because why is there this, like, little pink thing behind this dress? Why does she have, like, a little, like, I don't know what you call it, but why is that there? That does not need to be there. It doesn't match with any of the colors of her design, and then the ribbon in her hair is just so big, and then her, like, tight dress, it has a nice orange hue to it at the bottom, yet it doesn't look right. And yeah, this is like a lot of the Engage designs for me in a nutshell. Though there are some, like, which also makes like designs like Boucheron's way more off-putting, because it's just so simple. So anyways, the designs definitely could have been done a lot better, but they're tolerable. So this is the end of the video now. Those were pretty much all of my unfiltered, rambling, unscripted thoughts about the game. There are probably things that I missed out upon that I will be thinking about when I'm going back to editing these videos, and I'm really like, oh shit, I forgot about that point. That's probably gonna happen, but I don't think I'm going to do, like, maybe I might do a few, like, maybe a video or two, like, looking deeper into the story, because I haven't looked into it super deep yet. But I don't know, it's weird to think about, because I remember the whole debacle. I remember those leaks, and I remember thinking, oh wow, it would be really funny if these were actually real. And then when the trailer came out, everybody was collectively like, oh my god, wait, those were real? Like, that was certainly a moment. But Engage, like, so before Engage was coming out, like, you know, I started, like, let's see, I think I said it before, earlier in the video, maybe, but I started with, you know, Three Houses was my first game, and then since then I've been a huge FE fan. I've played a ton of the games, and I've played, like, it's easier to say which games I haven't played. Like, FE4 is my favorite game of all time now. And so, but I kept playing so much Fire Emblem that I got burnt out, and I kind of just took a break for like maybe a few months. And then Engage comes, and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna go into this blind. And then I got Engage, and I played through it, and I had a blast. It made me fall in love with the series all over again, which is a great thing for any game to do. If I had to give a final rating to Engage, like, you know, out of 10, maybe something like 8, 8.5 out of 10 or something. I think the secret to really enjoying Engage is to just, you know, read through the story once if you want, just 'cause you get that under your belt, and then, you know, find a few characters you like and just go ham. Just play the game, like play once through hard mode and then play through maddening, experiment the character you want, just enjoy the gameplay. And then if you want to enjoy any character content, pick a few characters you like, read their supports, and then go read fan fiction or something about that. Because I'm pretty sure the only content of interest you're going to be getting is from other people. Yes, I'm saying this shamelessly. Yes, I don't care. But hey, if you made it this far, I'm pretty sure this video is probably going to be like 20 minutes, which is like, damn. But thank you super much for even clicking on this video, cause like, this is YouTube. This is just one video in a sea of other videos with videos like it. So I appreciate you for, you know, clicking on here, watching through this, you know, poorly edited, poorly recorded video, and sticking till the end. Like, you know, have a good day. Go, like, eat a snack or something. Don't get COVID. Don't choke on a horse or anything if you're hungry enough to eat a horse. Okay, you know what? I think I'm just going to say goodbye here and thank you very much before I keep on continuing. So I will do exactly what I have just said. Thank you very much for watching this video. Hit that like and subscribe button, and I lied to you because I didn't say I was going to put the like and subscribe button there. Anyways, goodbye. No longer do you have to listen to my pointless rambling at the very end of the video, which has no relevance to that of the original video topic. Enjoy your day. Go play Engage. Go play FE. Go play Fire Emblem 4. Bye bye.